Whatever.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, we tried.
Wow. Welcome to your favorite Green Day podcast.
Mark, you missed the maroon memo.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that?
Belena.
Oh, it's here.
Milena is always here.
Yeah, of course. It's the only T-shirts I use now.
Yeah. I had to get rid of all my resin.io t-shirts. Welcome, everybody, to the show. What in the world are we talking about today? Nobody knows.
You were supposed to...
IoT? The state of IoT. State of IoT. What year is it? I forgot what year it is. I don't even know what day it is or week. Today is just like yesterday. Gosh.
Whatever year it is, it's the most forgettable year.
It is forgettable, but you're not going to forget what you're going to hear in today's show. That is for sure.
You wish you could forget.
Exactly. It's the year of us being remote, and I hear IoT helps with that kind of stuff.
And just a few weeks left of this shit show called 2020.
Exactly. We're going to
More than 30 shows, by the way.
Woo! Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to just purge our brains at the end of this year, right?
Yeah,
We're going to forget this ever happened. It's going to be like Men in Black when they had the and you forget everything. It'll be just like that. So let's talk about what's the state of IoT in 2020. What happened this year? What were the big events? Does anybody remember anything?
Oh, there was so much stuff happening, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
CES happened, really, physically, 2020?
CES. Yes, I was at CES.
Oh, cool. Last event that you attend physically, or?
I was there physically. It was the last time I saw my boss from work, actually, physically. I saw lots of friends there, which was great. I think
that was the last event that I was at before, because I didn't do anything in February and March.
You and I had dinner at the Palm restaurant, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Is that in the Forum Shops part of Caesars? Yes. That was cool. There were a lot of good events. I saw my friends, speaking of IoT, my friends from Losat. They had a big party in Mandalay Bay up at the top, whatever the name of the room is up there. That was fun, IoT-ish stuff. I remember the one thing I remember about CES was Hyundai had their giant autonomous flying vehicle. It was like the biggest drone I've ever seen, but Hyundai's working big time on that kind of stuff. As I was going through all the different halls, that's one of the things that really stuck out in my mind.
There's a lot of robots and robotic stuff, and they were like all moving all around amongst you while you're walking through aisles. So I remember that at CES. It seems like it was so long ago, though.
I know. Gosh, that was a lot of fun. And then CES flowed right into Mobile World Congress.
That never happened.
Oh, wow, that didn't happen, did it? We were not hanging out in your town, were we, Mark?
Yeah.
Blackberry Mojitos. 23.
That's what it's all about.
Opportunity.
It was a missed opportunity. Absolutely. Well,
now
and also...
They moved the Mobile World Congress to June 2021, but I'm not sure if it will be possible to attend physically.
I mean, everyone's hoping for middle of next year, but I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Actually, there was an experiment last week here in Barcelona in a club with concerts and so on. So they took these rapid tests that are like 99% correct. And so they took 1,000 people, made the test, 500 let them get in with masks and everything. So, of course, they were negative. And then in 2 weeks, they will make the test to them again to see if it was safe to go to the event or not. And And the Mobile World Congress, the company who runs the GSM, is thinking that if this test or this event goes positive, maybe Mobile World Congress can be like that. So you do a test just 10 minutes before getting into the venue. If you get negative, you get into the venue, and then you get tested constantly before getting.
That's interesting. I was reading a report from Texas A&M University. I know they're collaborating with some other medical organizations, and forgive me for not remembering. I don't know if it was Cleveland Clinic or what, but they were working on a breathalyzer type application where you breathe into a device and it will tell you whether you have COVID or not. Wow. Which, oh my gosh, think about the applications for entry and exit into buildings to make sure you're safe. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
That's really cool. I like that. Well, my fingers are crossed because I'm ready to go back and hang out with Marc.
Yeah.
I never thought I would miss business travel, but I miss business travel a lot. I miss face-to-face contact with clients.
And everyone is missing IoT stars.
Oh, yeah.
At Estrella Dam.
Yeah. Man.
So let's prepare it for June 2021, for sure.
Dude,
I don't know if it will be physical or virtual, but let's make it happen.
Yeah. It's been such a great event every year. All the IoT startups doing their pitches.
Yeah.
And we've discovered so many great ideas, lots of great talent. I miss that, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. It was very fun to organize it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that happening again.
So did anything change? I mean, did we get out of POC hell? No. Did we figure out how to make money out of IoT? I mean, did we, figure out where the mountain of gold is this year? What's the state? Are we still in the same, dazed and confused? Maybe that's the song we should have played.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Led Zeppelin. Get a little Led Zeppelin in there. Are we still?
I don't know. I felt like there were, a lot of startup and mid-sized companies, M&A activity, a lot of investment deals going on. So while things have been a little bit silent, the finance and the investing piece of the market was ramped up. Yeah. There was some consolidation in the market. So that happened in 2020. I think you saw a lot of news around that.
Yeah.
Right.
And then for niche, smaller players in the market that were already way above and beyond POCs, they were flourishing. They were doing more. And I saw it seemed like co-opetition was just happening like crazy in IoT. Everyone's partnering with everyone. Everyone's trying to build out their alliances and their partnership and ecosystem. So maybe this year was a focus on finance, investing, and building out relationships. So that way, when the wallets really do open up, those pieces are in place.
Yeah. I'm sure like you talked to a lot of IoT people, different companies, big and small. The smaller ones, the IT startups, I'd say the first half of the year was just like, it was really tough. But I've talked to a lot of them, and they said the second half they're having success.
I would agree with that. You know what? I did see, and this has popped up, a lot of executives that were down, a lot of downsizing. So people that I know that have been in the industry for 20, 25, 30 plus years were emailing me, contacting me and like, hey, do you know of any openings that are happening? They're corporate, big time executives that were looking for positions. And that was like April, May, where a lot of that happened.
Yeah.
So that was kind of rough to see, especially folks that have been with companies forever that are looking for new positions. I don't know how that's kind of late. Yeah. I don't know what changes have you guys seen on the
because employees are our most important asset.
Bye.
Bye.
Gotta cut budgets.
Don't let the door hit you in the butt. Our most important asset. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. There's been a lot of, you think about it. Think about different sectors that IoT is going after, like industrial stuff, manufacturing. Depending on the sector, you had a tough year just when you thought things were going up, if I look at major manufacturers, like in my backyard up here where I live is America's largest manufacturer is Boeing. And it's been a tough year for Boeing. It was already tough with the 737 MAX planes all grounded. There are like hundreds of those planes that are parked in Seattle. They're parked out in the desert in the middle of Washington State. That was tough already. And then to have the hit with all the airlines, no one's flying anymore, companies canceling orders. And then so you think of the trickle effect, right? You have all these other companies that orbit giant manufacturers, whether it's automotive or whatever. And so it ripples out and hits them. And then so there's IoT. And of course, the best thing you should be doing as an IoT company is positioning yourself of, hey, we're the right partner when things are going down.
Yeah.
You need to replace, if you're losing employees, losing whatever, this automated IoT stuff is here to actually help you cut costs. I don't know if they all got that or not.
Yeah. I would say too is from an opportunity perspective is, I always look at things from a marketing, how are they positioning their product? It's not technology. It's like if they're positioning things around safety, protection of your workforce, automating operations and processing, virtualizing things, then I think that it makes more sense. But I seen some companies jump on that real quick, and then you saw some new solutions starting to roll out, like some of the HVAC stuff, automation and HVAC because of safety, air pollution in the building, not just outside. Yeah. So safety applications tied to safety and virtualizing kind of really, really human intensive processes where now we kind of get to take a step back so we can keep people safe. I mean, that resonates. But I don't know how many people jumped in on that.
Yeah, exactly. I think there were a lot of ideas and press releases that were put out there. I really don't know how much uptake there was. And I mean, quite honestly, for me, in particular in the United States, what we did with the technologies, what's more appropriate to say is what we didn't do with the technologies that we have was actually quite disappointing. So although I'd like to sit there and pump the hype and say, hey, look, we did all these fantastic things with IoT, blah, blah, blah. I mean, honestly, we fell quite short of what we could have done, especially with the pandemic response. I mean, the innovation there was almost non-existent. There were some, nice fanciful ideas, but where was the actual practical, urgent application of these technologies? And so I think, there's a lot of talk still around IoT, not a lot of courage to invest in solutioning, not just the technologies, the gadgets, the systems, the software, but actually solving problems. And I think the issue that we continue to have in the IoT universe is we have a lot of people still in these micro bubbles, these micro echo chambers, who have this perception of what the end markets want and what the end market opportunities will be. And they're still having trouble bridging the knowledge divide, because what people, most people outside of our echo chamber, our little podcast here, they really don't know what IoT is. They don't care what IoT is. What they know is what they read in a HBS or a McKinsey quarterly thing, and they just assume that they know now, once they've read that article, they know everything about IoT. But they don't know how to make anything happen with that stuff. And I think the COVID response was a classic example of that. Don't
you think too that we just all of a sudden had to come to a halt, and these CXOs had to really almost throw their game book out the trash because priorities are different. Yeah. The way that they're thinking about their business is completely different this year than it was last year because of their workforce. So it's almost like we need to regroup. Large enterprises have to regroup And then they also got to figure out, well, how do we ease back into going into the office, getting worked? I mean, a lot of businesses are still not back in the office. So what changes and how do we ease into that? That's more of a priority than, let me go implement this technology and automate. But if the roles reversed and we're saying, hey, we're going to facilitate this technology to help you ease into 2021 and make it easier, to make it simpler, to make your workforce safer, then I feel like that's a better approach, because CXOs just do not care about IoT. They care about their work, what's going to happen, their financials and their workforce.
And you're making a great point there, Stephanie. And the other thing to consider is that when you look at IoT solutions by and large, especially the stuff that's related to operational IoT, it's really just incremental cost savings. The easier lever to pull in situations like what we encountered with the crisis that is the pandemic is just lay people off, get rid of people. And then get rid of assets, get rid of real estate, basically clear the books, and try to survive, preserve cash. I mean, so the question and the challenge, I think, for the IoT community at large has been, what is our pivot strategy? How do we pivot in these types of environments where the priorities just completely change from what you would have if things were sort of normal? The globe wasn't in a crisis situation. But I also think that the situation has been different in different regions. Definitely in China, those dudes, they have a different situation going on. And so what we're looking at the United States and in Europe and other regions, I think the value that IoT brings to the table is vastly different. That's
and we were all thinking about, most businesses were all the term disruption was on a lot of people's minds. What if my industry gets disrupted? What if this happens? What if no one was thinking about a pandemic? So that kind of disruption is not something anyone was prepared for. And so it's not technology disruption. It's not a competitor changing a business model that takes your business out. This is universal. It's global, and it's the global supply chain. I think that could be a big area of impact for IoT.
Well, resiliency. It all of a sudden it became about resiliency versus productivity and visibility and all these nice things that were so much easier to sell. At least at the time, right?
Well, I mean, a lot of the small businesses, they were very heavily focused on reinventing their business to virtual operations, mobile ordering and delivery, and all of these things that they'd never done in the past. So that the small businesses, I think there's a lot of them that just closed doors, but the ones that were resilient are the ones that said, hey, I've got this asset and this resource and these people, this is what I can do. And some people just had to completely change their business model, and maybe they stay that way. Maybe but on the enterprise side, the large corporations,
And just to complement that, actually, I have been advocating for this position of that IoT should help to save money or make money to companies. But of course, you, as an IoT partner of that company, you are charging as a service sometimes with an OPEX or CAPEX as well. But imagine that, the company need to stop something, that service. You are still charging, because your devices are there connected, sending data. So that's
a good point.
That's tricky as well.
You're right.
I don't know. Mark, I'd love your perspective on the regional differences for your area, right? What's happening? What's your impact there? And you're knee deep in IoT there. What's changed in 2020?
That's a good question. Actually, I don't have a lot of visibility of what changed, actually.
Or how did it change your position? Because you've changed positions as well.
Exactly. On my side, I changed the company. I was an entrepreneur, and I'm closing down my own company and joined Baleno during this year. in April, actually, I joined Balena. What I have seen on the things before selling the company was that some customers were stopping or slowing down their projects. So that was complicated. Others were accelerating, actually. For example, projects from Australia were accelerating, maybe because it was summer or it was like spring getting into summer. I don't know. But then at Balena, you see that, when what we saw is that POCs stop. So sometimes that's good because the real customers were coming to in big numbers. So that was like that led the team to focus on building features and not taking care of POCs. That sometimes this is good.
Right. Interesting.
But local, haven't seen a lot of. I haven't been in contact with a lot of companies. Actually, I have seen a lot of companies getting projects just before of the lockdown. So haven't seen like a lot of issues locally.
What about you, Rob, with your role at Ericsson? Are you seeing regional differences for demand or projects or things that are real lab deployments versus, we're just talking about it?
Yeah. Obviously Ericsson's view or part of IoT is different than other people's. And so it's more about connectivity, of course. And so it'll have a different outcome. It's actually been a great year for Ericsson because what we're doing right now, because connectivity turned out to be one of the most important things in the world this year. And so everyone's rolling out 5G. And so that's what Ericsson makes. And so we're making
cell towers, no?
Yeah. Yes, because it caused the COVID virus. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Conspiracy theorists, eat your heart out.
Yes, I remember early on they said, all those cruise ships early on, they all had 5G, and that's why all the people got COVID. And then the next thing I heard was Italy was the first country to roll out 5G, and that's why they had COVID so bad. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So connectivity turned out to be one of the most important things in the world this year. Look at what we're doing right now. And so the 5G rollout's going on. Specifically in my team and our IoT team, we have this connection management platform. So it's just the cellular connectivity. It's actually been a great year, actually, for us. It's a lot of huge growth. Yeah, huge growth.
I'm wondering
primarily.
I'm wondering if because we're rolling out 5G in this connectivity management platform, we're setting the stage. We know that all of this stuff is on the horizon. We know there's some key benefits to IoT mass IoT in terms of specific areas where 5G lends itself into completely brand new, applications, or especially in brand new buildings or brand new in communities that are building out from scratch, just where there's like a lot of opportunity as well. But yeah, it's good to see which companies were like just thriving because of necessity versus the ones that were like, they had to really scrap their plans because what they were doing wasn't working. And when COVID hit, revenue just completely stopped.
Yeah, but I have to be clear when we talk about regional stuff with our IoT connection management platform, it's a global system, but the strong growth was in China this year. Yeah. Like overwhelming growth in China. Yeah.
That was one of the things that I wrote about early this year. It was published in Fierce Electronics. Is that the key? And this was before things really got problematic in the U.S. Right? Is that the thing we need to prove is we're resilient. And what China did was they proved they're resilient. And for all the geopolitical, whatever mudslinging that's happening right now, at the end of the day, the world only cares about who's the most resilient and can survive this thing. And then, that's who they're going to eventually partner with. And so this idea that the supply chains in China, there was a lot of talk about that earlier in the year, that people are all going to move their production away from China. That absolutely didn't happen. And I think that's actually something that Western economies need to think about, and as they think about IoT, how do we use this technology to be more resilient? And because you know what, they're in a hell of a lot better situation than we are, and that means that they win. And, you know, as an American, I don't necessarily think that's all that cool, you know?
Yeah, but I beg to differ with you there, because I feel like, you know, because of their government structure, they were able to have a force of hand on how things were done. And in a culture in America where we value our freedom and ability of choice, you know, the capability to make our own choices, there was no turning on a switch of that and seeing complete compliance. Whereas in China, you will comply, right? So I think that culturally, it was just, even if there was a forced approach, I don't know how successful that would have been. Even now with the change of administration, I think there may be some shifts here and there. There may be some.
I love that you're saying that, Stephanie.
But I'm very, very indifferent on some of these things, because I have a lot of, I do have ill feelings toward China and the way they handled the pandemic, the way they communicated with the world. And I know other corporations and executives do too. And so that will hurt them in some ways, no matter how resilient they are. Their relationship building with the World Health Organization and all of the global economies, that was a sucky part of this whole situation.
Well, here's the thing. I do hear that I call it an excuse. That you know, we value our liberties and all that stuff. If you have strong leadership, that all goes away. If there's a subscription to a truth and trust in folks who are quote unquote experts, that all goes away. Because you know what, that's what leadership is about. It's about getting people with possibly different points of view together in tackling a common issue. And so I hear that, but, you know, from a competitive perspective, I think a lot of countries need to think about it. That's all I'm saying, because by the numbers and money talks, bullshit walks, they won. And, you know, there has to be a point where we are not delusional about that. And that,
right. I mean, I understand that. That perspective is huge, because there are some key learnings and some really great things that we could take away from their performance around this whole pandemic. But I still think the way we are set up in the States, the way we do business in the States, the way we operate, it didn't lend itself to. I mean, we had a lot of flaws in the way we do things already. So, I mean, our large mass and our state, you know, fed, state, local, all those kind of that trickle down. And, you know, we had differences of opinions, differences of the ways of doing things. And I think that's always going to be challenging, because you don't have a solid foundation of trying to handle this you know, at a US wide scale. It was a big challenge for us. But yeah, leadership, I would say divisiveness, that was the hard part for I think the divisiveness nature of what was going on did not lend itself for us to do things better. But we got a guest.
Ella está al planeta.
Sí, ella está al planeta.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
You're in a planet.
it's Earth, I'm in space.
You're in the space.
Oh, loves Leonard background.
I got an interruption. This is actually something that this year, we learned from our colleagues, that they have children, right?
That's right. It turns out people have children sometimes, don't they?
We work where we work out of our home, and that means the kids are right there with us many times.
Yep, absolutely.
So how tall is she? Is she tall like you?
No, but yeah, she will be one of the top in the country for sure.
Basketball, volleyball.
She's in the 100th percentile.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, I apologize.
Oh, I love it. We needed that break. We were getting way too deep on politics and.
Well, my
yeah, we just lost half our audience, so I'm glad you brought your daughter here.
Yeah. No, but just to be clear, I wasn't making a political statement. I was making a statement of fact.
I know no matter what, it becomes political, because when you say China won, hey, you're competing with the States, you're competing with Europe, you're competing with Australia, whatever. It's a hard thing. I think no matter what, you can't step away from it.
But as an economy, as a country, by those measures, they beat out everyone else. And that's where they are. And we need to think, what we need to reflect on, I think, in 2020 is, going back to what I said earlier, I didn't see any kind of substantial initiative to use accelerate 5G, bring new types of applications, a la what we did during World War II. And so you want to talk about a nation that can come together. The United States came together during World War II. It was incredible. And the thing is that what we didn't do is we didn't jump on the technology to create number one, a defense from the pandemic. Number two, a way of dealing with and containing the pandemic. And then number three, instilling resiliency in our industries. And I think the point I'm making is that let's recognize that we could have done a hell of a lot better. And then in the next few years, let's keep that in mind and drive innovation to be much more competitive and more capable than we were in 2020.
I think the hard part about that is hindsight is 2020. We have nothing to go on to compare and contrast to. We don't know if we did X, if it would turn out to be Y. So that's always a challenging part. But I'm like, look, we're 9 months into this from when we actually officially said, hey, we have a massive problem. Everybody was sent home. 9 months. We have an opportunity to make some great changes with 5G. We have the opportunity to do some big things with IoT. And it takes the companies and great leaders to do this. The opportunity is there for us regionally. Like if the states really want to move forward, if Europe really wants to move forward, the foundation is there. The technology is there. If Ericsson wants to move forward.
I want to talk about us and IoT and stuff, and also not being in hindsight. So a few things, cultural differences, not just China, Singapore, Taiwan, South Korea,
Philippines.
People who are more apt to follow the rules versus countries that are more rebellious. I'm individualistic. I can do whatever the hell I want to do. I think there's a cultural thing there. I think countries embrace technology more quickly. And actually, Leonard and I, from the get-go, we were talking about and we were writing apps and we did stuff and did podcasts and videos for other events right at the very beginning and built stuff, about how to do tracing, how to figure out green zones and red zones. We did lots of stuff early on and made it really clear this is where we should be going. Leonard was writing stuff. It's like, if they would make me the president, I would enact this stuff right away. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I thought we had some good ideas, and then we saw those ideas flourish in Asian countries, and people, because it's a cultural difference, people said, absolutely, I'm putting that app on my phone for contact tracing. Absolutely, I'm wearing a mask. Absolutely. I remember watching videos that were translated from like the top health guy in Korea, like in March or maybe late February. And it was just real obvious to them. Back then, every restaurant, every place already had a sign, no mask, no service. Mm-hmm. You're not going in here if you don't have a mask. We're checking everybody's temperature and all this stuff. When you get onto the metro train, when you go into a skyscraper, when you go into your office, when you go to a restaurant. And people followed the rules, and they did use technology, and the technology actually worked. We could have done that, but we just didn't. This is sad that we missed that opportunity. The politicians missed that opportunity of learning about science and scientifics and from technologists, right? So people didn't want to install those applications on their mobile phones, but meanwhile they were doing TikTok or Instagrams.
You're right.
Yeah.
sharing
And we all talk about this being kind of the universal tool.
Yeah.
We had information at our fingertips all the way down to the local level to the individual person and household. And it could have been used for sharing, tracing, everything. And we're instead using like SQL databases and, it's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty. But like I said, I mean, the way I look at it is that you look back, and then you learn. You learn from. It's not that we failed; we made a crap ton of mistakes. And like what I say, I'm not into this whole failure culture thing. When you make mistakes, do a retrospective, and then be honest about stuff.
We need to have a pandemic plan for each country. It needs to be solid. And we need to assume there will be one right around the corner. You have to assume that. I mean, they're already talking about new strains, which is very scary, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
the UK, they have the minx one out of what is it?
Denmark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, by the way, kudos to this has nothing to do with IoT, but the guys who came up with the vaccines, those scientists and researchers. So for all those of you in STEM programs, you young kids.
Insane what they did. Insane.
Yeah, you want to talk about magic.
Yeah.
The magicians. You want to be a magician? That's where you do it. And it's like real stuff, not like the fake magic stuff.
But it's not magic, it's technology and science, right?
Yes.
I was like, man, those people,
Science.
those scientists who created this vaccine, I'm like, they should have been Time Person of the Year, those medical workers. And I'm just like, whoa, are you kidding me? If you go back and look at, they did a montage of all of the media and what they were verbally saying about how long, it's going to be 5 years. We're not going to see a vaccine. And here we are. And I'm like, I mean, none of us believed that it was going to happen that quick.
And how are the cold chain projects on the vaccine?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you have any insight about that?
That's a good question. That was low-hanging fruit for lots of IoT companies to do cold chain tracking. I don't know.
I think there was some anticipation, but it almost seems like it was like a big surprise that these vaccines had to be kept frozen at way sub-zero temperatures. What's worse is I don't think they necessarily thought out, and I could be entirely wrong, but this is the impression I get, that you can only open these cases maybe twice, but then when you look at what's inside the cases, like 50, 100 doses. Well, these things are highly perishable doses.
Yeah, I think you have to use them within 2 hours. They have to be put into the arm.
So how are you going to administer all these things, and who's going to do it? Because now all of our we have a shortage of nurses around the country, so and then around the world. So it's going to be tricky.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing what they're doing so far. I think when it gets to the masses, not the healthcare workers and the critical, patients and whatnot, and the elderly, is when they get to the CVSs and the Walgreens and all of that. I think it'll be interesting to see. I'd love if they give us an inside look at their supply chain and with how they're doing all that, because that'd be so cool.
Yeah. It's funny. Leonard, earlier on in the talk here today, and also Mark, you brought up, making money, saving money is an IoT, and Leonard, you're talking about urgency and stuff like that. We talk about IoT being able to help save money, and maybe this is the right technology to use at this time. But I think one of the problems we've seen with IoT is not only incrementalism, but also this delay in time before you get the benefit, or you get the benefit if we predicted that your robot was going to fail, you didn't lose your assembly line, and you saved all this money, but no one knows when that's going to happen. When it's a harder sell sometimes, because what people really want is rapid ROI. They want
immediacy.
They want immediacy. If they're paying an IoT company money, they want to see immediate return right away, not, maybe in the future I won't lose 300 million euros.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
that was one of the things that I just got through talking about with SAP is one of the few applications that's out there is RPA, where you see actual ROI within 2 to 5 weeks, and that's the average, right? That's so exciting because customers we are impatient. We want to see it now, and we want to see the cost savings now. But when you start to those use cases that are 6 months, a year, 2 years before you pay for the equipment and the service, that's too scary right now. And don't you think with our environment, it's even worse with
they want
the
fast,
uncertainty?
Yeah.
Fast ROI. We saw, you're right, companies were laying off people. RPA is just automating a lot of workflow stuff that you see on your screen.
Simple. Yeah.
I'm going to show you a picture. I wrote this dystopian article in May of this year because I was thinking about people being laid off. And so, because that Mr. Digital Twin guy.
Yeah, I remember that one.
But this also relates to RPA though, actually. It's APIs, it's twins that represent things, functions, maybe, and so as I was seeing companies lay off people, I started going, what are jobs in a company? They're a role, a job to be done that accomplishes a number of tasks, and you put all those tasks together and it's called a job or a role, a job to be done. And you hire a person to do this series of tasks. It's really that simple. And so I remember just thinking through, well, we define machines and processes with digital twins. I could define a role, a job with a digital twin, and I could use APIs to connect these digital twins or different departments of companies. And I could have bots, and it could be like RPA, it could be interactions. But if you define what you're supposed to do with a twin and the bot brings it to life and the APIs are how you connect, I don't know. I just remember going down that rabbit hole last May, thinking about that as people were being laid off and companies, but knowing that companies still needed to accomplish this list of tasks to keep running. And they're like, how do I do that? And so I remember that popping in my head. And it sounded kind of twisted.
Let me change the topic. Cool. As we were discussing last week with some friends, that one of the winners of this situation, of the pandemics, of the COVID-19, it's Amazon.
Yeah.
So at least here in Spain, they increased by, I don't know, hundreds or thousands %.
I was really happy I invested in them in January because it really has taken off, and Tesla too.
Exactly.
And Zoom.
Yeah.
And you know what? And what's the deal with all these companies moving to Texas?
Yeah,
that could be a double-edged sword right there.
I know. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
She's thinking something different than you are, Leonard.
Yeah. Yes, very much
when you said that.
Exactly.
I like Texas the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't want it to change.
Stephanie, all of a sudden.
Stephanie's like, I don't want to see the
Don't come here.
I don't want to see the Californication of Texas.
Yeah. I don't want to see high tech in the rural America like take over our lives. I love the laid back, small town Texas.
Most of them they're either going to Houston or they're going to Austin.
Yeah. Big cities.
Yeah. And
they're going to Austin.
They say in Austin.
Keep it weird, Austin.
Yeah.
I love Austin though. So.
Oh, I love Austin too. I was going to buy a place there way back.
Speaking of music, there you go. You need to come here, Leonard. It's time for you to move. Get out of California.
I used to be a resident of Austin years ago. That's a great town.
No, I
went there
about
for the
those T-sips.
Just shut up, I think I read some article. The one place in America where most people are leaving is this place called College Station, Texas. I don't know.
Oh no, their school population has gone way up.
Yeah.
Can you believe we're in the top 5 right now in football? Like it must be 2020.
It must be 2020. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Rob, I just wanted to say, one of the things that you and I talked about very early on, I think it was last year even, was visibility. the great gift of visibility that IoT brings to the table. That's like the 101 foundational thing. You know, start there, and we could have started there, and we still need it. We still need visibility to a lot of stuff, not only to support resiliency in our industries, but also in the continued fight against this pandemic. You know, because I think we've been so short. We've applied such short-term thinking about the pandemic. We thought, oh, it's going to be gone by the summer or whatever.
Right.
It's continued to persist. And, you know, this idea that we have the vaccine today means that we're going to get to immunity, which is more important than the vaccine. Vaccine is a key enabler of it, but if you can't get people immunized fast enough,
right,
this thing will just go herd immunity and kill off a ton of people before you administer even, let's say, 100 million doses. And that's nothing.
I've always been pessimistic about the recovery. They say middle of next year.
No. We're still in a race.
Well, and all of the surveys too of people taken, like in the States, like only 50% said that they were going to take it, and I think it went up to 60%. I'm like, that's not promising. We need this vaccine so we could get back, but I don't know what's going to happen.
But no, we have the vaccine. That's great. Now, okay, so the invention or the discovery has taken place. Mm-hmm. That's the event. Now it literally is a race against the R naught of this virus. This virus, what makes it so bad is that it spreads so quickly. We may not be able to catch up with it in time to minimize the economic damage as well as loss of life. And
I do worry about the strains because they keep changing. There's a lot, like 200 plus strains, and I'm like, will it change faster than the pace of the vaccine and what it actually does? And I don't know.
And the faster and the more it spreads, the more it mutates. And there's already thousands of mutations of this thing. There, you can actually go to a site that shows you the genealogy of this horrible thing. But so maybe that's the thing that we have people walk away with in terms of a takeaway, is that we're still in an urgent moment, and we should look at the technologies and apply them. Don't sit there and retreat. There's a moment here where we do need to, and especially governments need to look at how do we actually get people, smart people like the four of us and the two others who aren't on the session, bring our ideas to the table, listen to us, or listen to other smart people who know the technology and what it can do, and then more importantly, how to get it to market very quickly, right? So implementation, deployment, scaling. This crap is not over. It's actually just beginning, because in the United States, we're getting over almost 250,000 people getting infected every day. Every day.
It's just horrific.
Do the math. It's not many days before the entire population of this country is going to have had it.
Take your vitamin D.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go running.
Yeah.
Have we all dodged a bullet?
Yeah.
Has anybody from IoT Coffee Talk had the virus? Have anybody had the virus?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I didn't test, but my wife, yes. So she had the antibodies of the virus. We had it in maybe March, April. Yeah.
So really early on. Has anybody lost a loved one or knows someone's family who lost a loved one?
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandma died. Yeah.
So sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The closer it hits to your family, the more it's just so serious. It's just crazy. I mean, we just lost a family friend this last week. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I know several people who got severely got into some really critical conditions.
Yeah.
It's not fun. No one says that it's fun. Even just a moderate case, it can be pretty bad. So
what we can say is we in the industry, we have work to do.
Oh yeah.
There will be more pandemics. There will be additional things, but there are things that we can do now. The industry needs to take notice, and they need to start identifying ways that they can support and alleviate a lot of this pain and prepare for the next one, because we have the tools. There are things that we can do. We're just not leveraging that. We're not being smart about it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Leonard always laughs when I speak. I'm like, what's so funny?
It's awesome stuff, because you're reminding me of things like, Rob. We used to talk about how our response has been no more advanced or than what we did in 1917 with the Spanish flu. The way we managed this thing and handle it is about the same.
The only remarkable thing we did was the vaccines. Everything else, we looked like elementary. We didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Yes, those people back then, us coming with our airplanes and spaceships, would think, wow, you're from the future. You'll never have to have problems with this. And it turns out we're just stupid children and we had the exact same problems.
Yeah.
The naivety and the narcissism of the United States.
Yes.
It's got us in trouble.
Any other cool, as we wrap up, any other big events in IoT that happened in 2020? Anybody can think about?
I don't think there's anything bigger.
Oh yeah, yesterday was this Amazon AWS IoT announcements, for example.
Yeah.
We had Apple. We already cover in an episode Apple 5G telephone.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. But you're right.
Good to go to the IoT Coffee Talk episode.
Yeah.
One of the members of the stream.
Absolutely.
Went nuts on.
Yeah, but you're right. Yesterday, Amazon released Greengrass 2.0. They released some new edge capabilities, industrial stuff. A few weeks ago, Microsoft released their plug and play for IoT technology to make it easier for devices to connect to them. I loved how
some digital twin technology as well, right?
Yes, they launched their digital twin technology. A lot of stuff coming out from Microsoft. I love how they use the term, we're democratizing IoT as long as you're connecting to us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We're open, but we're not.
We're open,
but our tooling's not.
We're open as long as you're sending all your data and money to us.
As long as you live by our rules, too.
Yeah. Da, 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 da. Yes.
Cool. This was such a great coverage. We were all over the place, but I love it. It was great.
Yeah, it was fun.
Absolutely.
No, Stephanie, I don't laugh at what you say. I think it's all great stuff. We need diversity of thinking and diversity of representation and diversity of everything. It makes things interesting. Otherwise, we're just agreeing with each other, and that's boring.
That's so true.
It is boring. We don't need a bunch of group think. Yes.
Well, hopefully with the next episode with our predictions, we're going to do predictions, and we're going to come to the table with our predictions. Then we'll narrow it down to the top 10 or something.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like
that. Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
I like that. Yeah.
And push it out to the universe.
Yes.
Sounds great.
It'll be fun to look back at. I'm sure all of us have written multiple prediction papers, articles in past years, and how many of them came true.
We will have Robbie one for the predictions.
Oh gosh, I think back when I used to be part of the Windows Mobile, Windows Phone team, and I remember 2010 is going to be the year for Windows Phone. It's taken over.
Woo!
Yeah,
what year was that?
What, 2010?
No, but when did you launch that prediction?
Oh, probably the year before,
The year before.
Yeah.
All right, I'm out of coffee.
That was a milestone, not a prediction.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm off to finish Christmas shopping.
Yes, I got to do that too.
Don't forget to get the wifey something good.
Yeah, go to Amazon quickly. Hey, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. we reflected on 2020 and IoT and lots of non-IoT things like COVID, right? Because that's all people are talking about. So come to our YouTube channel, subscribe, click the bell, go to iotcoffeetalk.com, send us the love. Next week's going to be mind-boggling because I know you think that Gartner and IDC and all these other people are the go-to people for predictions. No! This is the place! This is where the best predictions are going to come from. So you better be here next week. You better be here.
Gary.
Oh, man. All right.
Rock and roll.
Awesome. Hey, that was fun, guys. Thank you so much.
Y'all have a good rest of the day.
All right.
Adios.
Adios. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.